Friends, good afternoon to all of you. We are meeting after a long time. I recall, I think last class I have taken almost a month back. Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Sir.
Okay, well. So I think it was till then I was taking Monday class. Okay, so that was in the month of February, just before your midsem. Then midsem started, and consecutive post midsem I was supposed to take Tuesday's class, and consecutive 3 Tuesdays we had holidays here at the institute. One was for the Saraswati Puja, then followed by our convocation, and there was a 1 week break. Okay, so this together Tuesday class was became a really victim of the things. But anyway, I think we have 5-6 more classes. We can cover a lot of things, and whatever the relevant things, we'll try to finish within that. And one more important thing is there. I'll also tell later on. We have to think of a date. Okay, because of the things we have covered before midsem, we could not take because of the this convocation leave and other this thing. We could not take the test, so we'll take a quiz one day, maybe half an hour, and one day one more test that was covered before midsem. Means what we have covered, the introduction, means importance of non-traditional manufacturing. Second topic was the electric discharge machining, and third one was electrochemical machining process. On these three we'll also take a test. Okay, so quiz plus quiz will be on one day, but that has to be beyond the classwork. I'm thinking of having this quiz on this coming Saturday. Is it all right?
Sir, this Saturday?
This Saturday, let us finish it. The quiz is a multiple choice kind of
The
thing.
grand viva this week. So
Oh,
please...
grand viva, but not everybody is having grand viva, na? It is in the window, something as, when is your grand viva? Between 8th to?
12th. 8 to 16, I think.
No, cannot be 16. Okay, the window is 8 to 12. Okay, so I think you tell me, suggestion, if it is 8 to 12, when I think most of will be things will be by Friday it will be over. Okay, and as such, Saturday is 13th. When you are free, we can have sometimes on Saturday. Maybe Saturday evening we can do it, if you like.
Sir, could you keep it on Sunday? So we can have Saturday
For
to
me,
study.
it is not an issue.
No, sir, not on Sunday, sir.
I want to keep at least one day you have to leave on Sunday. Huh? But if you want half an hour you can spare, I can have it on Saturday anytime. Okay?
Yes, sir. Saturday evening would be okay.
I think Saturday evening, let us try Saturday evening. Okay?
Yes, sir.
There are 100 plus students over here, 115 students registered in this course. So probably I cannot fully satisfy, okay, everyone over here, but I can compromise with my time. But at the same time, for such a big class, please make some compromise, and Saturday evening time we'll have the test. Okay?
So the syllabus will be what has been taught in those 2 hours, 2 hour lectures, whatever you have taken on those.
Yes, before midsem, before your midsem, that is 2 hours class. Okay, so mostly electrochemical machining, electric discharge machining, and introduction of the non-traditional. These whatever classes. Okay, so these 2 hours lectures classes will be covered.
The platform
And
will be Microsoft Teams, right?
or Microsoft Teams, or there are certain
Form.
restrictions. Microsoft or Google Form also we can do it. Okay?
Sure, sure. Okay.
Okay.
Sure, sir,
So
sure.
I have all your Gmail ID, so you have to log in, and it will be link will be sent to your Gmail IDs. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Okay. So that will fine. So let us start today. I'm sharing my screen. I'm starting a new topic of chemical machining, which is not including in this quiz and test. Okay. First to Saturday evening we'll have only the quiz. Okay. Quiz will be MCQ type. And then I'll also announce the date of the test. Okay, covering these topics only. Okay, so let us share my screen.
test covering those EDM and all those 2 hours 2 hour lectures.
EDM, ECM, and maybe introduction, whatever one lecture I have taken on introduction. So these things, one test will be there. Test will be slightly longer, but quiz will be half an hour duration. Saturday evening only
test.
quiz. Saturday evening only
The
quiz.
subject test. Sir, after that, the test.
Test will be after quiz on another day.
Yes, sir. So will it be subjective, the format of the test?
Format will be subjective then. Some answers will we have to write. Okay. Okay. Subjective types, analysis types, you have to calculate something, numerical types, and so on. Okay. So that will be announced later on. Let me share my screen. Is my screen visible now?
Yes, sir.
I think to everyone it will come slowly. So today we'll be starting a new topic called chemical machining. Okay. So first we'll see what is chemical machining. Rather we'll take some case studies and why chemical machining is required, that we'll try to highlight first. Okay. So first case I am showing you, it has been taken from a source Chemcut Corporation. What they are doing, it is a big industrial things where they make some associated with the aerospace industries. Okay, here basically what you see, it is one of the wings of an aircraft. Okay, it is made of light aluminum alloy. Okay, now when you make this wing, look at the skin. On the skin, at number of pockets, as if somebody has scooped out material, machined out material. Okay, and these square pockets you see, and something's on the boundary, something is projecting out. So how do you remove these materials? Because if you remove it by, say, some kind of a milling operations, okay, or subtractive machining operations, the interactions of the cutting tool onto the alloy going to induce some kind of residual stress because of those are machining stresses because of the cutting force. Now, once you have this residual stress, the fatigue life of the product becomes uncertain. And for aerospace, which flies, obviously you cannot play with the life of the component. Fatigue life, it should be pretty high. Okay. After repetitive flying, it should be performed as it is. That should not be a failure point. So obviously machining is ruled out in this case. Some other methods where the surface can be generated more or less forceless machining process, where you do not induce this kind of residual stresses. So this is one of the things, and this removal of material is required, you understand, to reduce the overall weight of the wing, aircraft wing, but you can maintain the good strength to weight ratio. Okay, so this is what is my requirement. And the second case, this is a very big, large job. You can think of a big aircraft wing. So each one of is spanning up to several meters. Okay, whereas the second case, I'm focusing upon a much smaller object. Okay, and it is a thin object. What is that material? This is basically an encoder disc. What is encoder? Encoder is actually fitted with a small motor, maybe stepper motor or some other motor. So when it DC motor, when it rotates, probably through a light sensing device, it can say by how much angle it rotates. What is the total number of times it has rotated? So if you have a counter, you can do those kind of things. So this encoder disc is very thin. It is only 25 micron thickness. Okay, it is only 25 micron thickness, and it is made of copper, not exactly copper. It is an alloy of copper and beryllium. So that copper is much more malleable. So this will give you slightly more stiffness to the copper. Okay, now this encoder disk, what I need to do it here, we make some through small rectangular slits all along its periphery. What you see, circumference, you see there are such kind of slits are there, and these slits are of equidimension, every slit, and they are equidistant with respect to the other. Okay, so if there are on the circumference there are 200 such slits, so roughly these slits are every slit is around 1.8 degree, 360 divided by 200, that is 1.8 degree separated. Question is there, how to create machine and make such precise slits at regular interval, that too on such a thin disk. Again, machining is not even an option, or conventional blanking process, probably that will be also be ruled out because of the such size of the features and such close proximity of the features. So I have to think of some other methods. This is just some of the examples, but let us get what could be the solution. The solution for both the cases could be, I'm going to emphasize what we have, our topic today is chemical machining. Okay, so chemical machining, what we have, chemical machining, we can have, just a minute. This is the basic scheme of a chemical machining, but as per our actual applications, actual requirement, this scheme may be different. It may not be exactly like this, but functionality wise, okay, the way a machining happens, that remains the same. So what we have shown you, we have a container which is filled up with some agent. What is an agent? Agent is a reactive chemicals. It could be an acid, it could be an alkali, it could be some other salt, okay, which is having some corrosive properties. Okay, so here we have submerged this work material, and you see out of this work material, some portions, initially it was a complete block, I want to machine out some portions. So this has been machined out with time. After some time you have shown it. So what is responsible for the machining? It is the chemical reactions between the agent and the work material. Okay. So obviously when the chemical reaction taking place, obviously there will be some reaction products. These reaction products could be either solid products, or sometimes it could be soluble products, or sometimes it could be gaseous products. But what is important to know, so with time at the interface over here, as the reaction goes, concentration of the original agent will keep on changing. So that locally available on the surface, the agent may not be same. So what you need to do it in order to remove excuse me, the reaction product, we have to agitate, continuously agitate, so that it will always fresh reaction agent can come and react with these things, so that reaction continuity can be maintained at the same rate. Okay, and what is important to know it, we have covered the workpiece with mask, not the entire portions. See, from left this side to this side some portions, and again from this end to up to the other end, extreme end. So central portion is open. So whatever is covered with mask, their chemical cannot attack or react with the job. But whichever portion is exposed, their chemical can easily react with the job. Okay, so this is how this scheme will work. It would require time. So if the reaction rate is, say, something, if I am able to remove around, say, 1 millimeter per 10 minutes, Probably at attaining a depth 10 millimeters, we may require almost 1 hour. But always we may not require such a high depth. Sometimes it will be only a surface machining. Okay. And many times we got to have some kind of exhaust system. Okay. Because of chemical reactions, it may have some gaseous products which may be dangerous, which may be toxic nature. So through a exhaust system, fume extraction systems, we may throw it far away from the your working chamber or the room, working room. So outside, maybe in far field, it can be thrown away through some fume extraction systems. So these are some of the requirements. Apart from that, there may be some heating systems, so that because HN may like to work at specific temperature, more efficiently to work if we can maintain the temperature at some specific temperature, if we can maintain that temperature. So there may be a thermostat, there may be a heating system, which I have not shown it over. So let us move forward. So here, what you see, the bottom is your job. So light pink, this shade is job. And this whitish thing, this is basically open atmosphere, or this is etchant. Okay. And it is, the job is dipped under this etchant. And here, my reaction will happen in the very thin layer, which is, we can consider as a boundary layer. Okay. Thin layer, which this material. So within this, actually what will happen? From the etchant solution, the reagent will diffuse into the work surface. They would react through the chemical reactions, and the reaction product will be generated, and they are desired to be expelled out from the workpiece. Otherwise, as I said, if the local concentration of the reaction products remains high, the reaction rate will go down. So we have to maintain that things, ensure their expulsion from the job and replacing that thing with a fresh reagent. Okay. Now I'm talking about the mask. So when you talk of a mask, if we cover the entire workpiece surface substrate with mask, and if it strongly adheres to the surface, and if it doesn't react with the, if it remains inert with the etchant, what will happen? Nothing will happen when you dip. But we want to machine at specific areas of the job. So those portions, we cut the mask, we strip the mask, so that etchant can come and react with these areas, so that these portions will be machined and it will be lifetime. With time, such depth will be attained. Okay. But with time also another thing may happen also because of this. You see on the side we are getting slightly tapered cut. Why? Because as is more and more depth is entered, the etchant can react from the side. So even this extended portion of the mask, below the mask some portion is always machined by the side machining. So you get not exactly like this, some undercut it will be there. This portion is called undercut. So this is somewhat inevitable for one-sided chemical machining. But eventually we are going up to the depth. But there are some ways we can get rid of this undercut. I'll come to that thing later. Classification wise, chemical machining, broadly they will be classified into two things. One is called a chemical milling operations, like the aircraft tubing. Okay, but through chemical milling we are doing weight reduction, we are doing either blind detailing, so it is not a through machining process. Whereas for chemical blanking process, it is a through process, and some of the features we can go for a through detailing. Okay, means it is a through, both sides open, so light can pierce through that once you machine it. Okay, and more, but thing is there, sometimes we also have known as chemical engraving. So a chemical engraving also a kind of a milling process, but here the detailing is also blind, but it will be detailing only up to the very limited depth. I'll show you some figures later on So give the examples and applications of chemical engraving process. And last one, but very much used in the industry, particularly various types of small components, electronic circuits, photochemical, the printed circuit boards and all. Photochemical machining is also used. That also I'll just try to discuss. Okay. So from these classifications, let us see. One of the primary requirement is the mask. Means I have to cover up with mask the portions which we do not want to machine. Okay. So depending upon the size of the job, depending upon the accuracy required, depending upon the number of jobs to be produced, the batch size, there are different types of masks. How quickly we can generate. So one of them is a cut and fill type job. So this kind of mask will be applied typically on relatively much bigger size jobs, metallic jobs, like it will be very thin sheets of rubber, just like we use a rubber gloves, similar to thickness of the rubber gloves, okay, like surgical gloves. We can have made of vinyl rubber or neoprene rubber, similar kind of things. Okay, so mask material will first be applied on the entire surface of the substrate. Now substrate is much bigger, like think of the aircraft wing. Such kind of cut and fill type will be applied there. Okay, so this can be applied by brush, by flow, or by dipping it, again taking out from the dip of this rubber solution and again taking out, or by spraying the rubber. Both can be done, but typically thickness will be something between 0.03 to 0.13 millimeter. It is sub-millimeter. Okay, and what we do it after the entire surface is covered with the this rubber sheet. Okay, the mask requisite portion will be cut. Along it, we can have a template, and maybe we can, with a sharp razor or knife, we can cut with a sharp cutter. Okay, so once having done that things, the unwanted portion of the mask, okay, unwanted portions will be stripped up to expose the area to be milled or machined. Okay, so this is a cut and fill type mask. Now second type of mask we can have called a screen print. Okay, so screen print is very much used in the printing industries also. We are using for chemical machining also. Okay, so here we have to use a mesh. Mesh is kind of a net-like surface, like just like you can have a silk cloth which is made of the very fine silk. Okay, but there are a lot of, if you look at microscopically, they are made of very fine fibers, fabrics, and very fine fibers, and but there are a lot of perforations are there. If you pour water through the silk, slowly the liquid will percolate down to the bottom. Is anything is there, it will be transferred onto this liquid. Okay, we can have a very fine mesh of stainless steel wires, that also can be used, and obviously their longevity is much higher. Okay, so this will have a stencil placed upon the material upon which the material will be machined. With a figure I will try to explain. Means on the bottom you have a net over which we have some kind of a stencil. Stencil, you know, stencil means select on a solid sheet which is having some selective opening describing the image to be transferred, a liquid to be transferred down there on the net. So this is what is called the stencil. So the screen type mask for screen printing uses the made of silk. It can be made of synthetic fiber, very fine fibers, just such as nylons or polyester fibers, or very fine wires of stainless steels. Okay, so what we do, we first use a projection system, just like a old days the cinema hall, you see there is a projector, and through the projector if you have a film that on a big screen, we used to project that thing onto the screen. Now we have all digital projector into the cinema hall, so that is different. This kind of negative film, film will not, positive film will not come. But here the negative images, okay, are needed of the needed patterns are created on the screen. Okay, so through the projection systems, they will be applied these images, the light image will be made to fall on the screen, and by that time we have applied a photoresist ink, okay, by a squeegee or by a pressed roller onto the substrate, and through the screen we create the final patterns. How it is done? Let us see like this. Okay, say all of you might have seen a overhead projector, and we used to, other than before PowerPoint, this overhead projector used to be used very much. For that, we have a transparent polymeric sheet known as overhead projection sheet. So this is transparent, but it is thin like, and same A4 size which can go through a laser printer, and something can be printed through the printer onto this transparent sheet. Okay, so suppose this can easily be made of a film also. Okay, so suppose we have some image in mind which has to be printed on this chart. Okay, so the film positive we create on the film. Okay, now below a projector this will be placed, and this image will be used to expose and harden the light sensitive emulsion. What is this light sensitive emulsion? See here, this is the green color thing I am showing you. This could be a silk cloth, this could be a synthetic fiber net, very finely placed synthetic fiber net of nylon or polyester other than silk, or this could be some very finely metal wire mesh also there. Now this is typically, they are placed on a frame which is used for the screen printing. Now first thing, before projecting over this green mesh, what we will be applying? We will be applying by brass or something, a photoresist, a film of a layer of photoresist. What is a photoresist? A photoresist is a light sensitive emulsion, a liquid form, which will be used as a masking material. So on this green mesh, we are pouring the photosensitive resin. Okay. Now the beauty of this photoresist is that when they are exposed to ultraviolet light, normal light cannot do any harm to them or any change to them. But when they are exposed to ultraviolet light, suppose from top some ultraviolet light is coming. Okay, so what will happen? This light will try to percolate through the sheet, but obviously wherever we have something already printed on the transparent sheet, the portions of this green mask below this opaque portions, non-transparent portion, that will not receive any light, but other portions of this mask covered with the emulsion will receive light, okay, UV light through this projection systems. Now, how is going to be there on this mask or this photoresist film, which is already applied on this what you call this what you call the mesh. Okay, so what change it is going? Now the beauty of the photoresist is that when they are exposed to such ultraviolet light, they would chemically transform. Okay, So chemically, typically there will be a monomer resins formed there. There will be interconnected polymer chains and they will become solid. Okay. So these transformations, this liquid to solid, so it will not happen on the entire mesh. Only those portions of the mesh which will be receiving light. Okay, UV light, they are such chemical.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes.
Sir, can you make everyone as a attendee?
Why everyone is the attendee?
Sir, someone is removing from me the meeting.
Oh, but I will just please do not do it. Okay, I can monitor it from here. Who is doing over here? If I found it is done, okay, I will ban it
Sir,
for the entire semester.
sir, you can check. Like I have been removed thrice or 4 times.
Okay, I am requesting everyone in the mid of the class. I will not do. Next class I will definitely do it. Okay. Today actually, if I start doing it, I'll do the setting later on. Okay. But I think that this new batch earlier it was not there, but please refrain from doing such kind of things. All students, my advice is there. If I find any student is involved, okay, from now onwards, he will be debarred from the entire semester. Please, okay, keep it in my mind. Okay, thank you. Please concentrate. So here, obviously, upon when you develop this after exposure, if you develop these things, what will happen? We'll get this kind of thing. Means some portions becomes the which have received light, they have become solid, and unexposed portions which are not received light, there the photoresist will continue to remain liquid, and during developing they will be removed from here. So what we have eventually on this synthetic or wire mesh or silk mesh, we have some portions which are completely opaque. Nothing can percolate through those portions. But there are some portions which is not covered with any mask material, converted photoresist material, so that if we put some liquid, that would percolate down, that will go through that, and it will, if we put it onto the shirt, obviously, and pour the ink, obviously only at those places ink will percolate and this image of this will transfer. Okay, and from there we remove these things, and again next your t-shirt will come and again be printed like this. With a brush we try to push the ink down and it can go through only through the exposed portions. Okay, this is how in screen printing first the mesh is made with a photo projection systems, and after that the requisite print will be there. Now think, if you want to have the positive ready, probably on the job multiple times we can print a mask material. Instead of a ink, we can use a rubber like masking materials, so that on the surface substrate of the job such kind of covered portions can be created which will not react with the chemical afterwards in the actual chemical machining. So this is how screen printing will work. And the third type we have is okay. Third type we have the photoresist type. Photoresist is what I explained in the last slide. Now this will be mostly synthetic photoresist. Okay, and they will be applied by a coating plate rotating at a very high RPM, several thousand RPM, it will rotate. Okay, and that device is known as a spin coater. On the spin coater, we hold the object through a vacuum gripping systems. Okay, so here first we through the photographic projection techniques, we can create the photoresist mask quite similar to the earlier one, and mask thickness, particularly this application, is extremely thin, only few micron, 2-3 microns. Okay, and it is not used for parts more than 1.2 millimeter thickness and 1.5 meter long, and it can handle highly corrosive reagents. So the photoresist method or photoresist mask, it can create a very fine and accurate in the sense the closely spaced very fine features. So I want them to be printed and reproduced on a very accurate manner. Okay, so thin resist pattern that will provide small chemical resistance to the strong alkali and acid agents. So it will be mostly used for the surface application, very small depth applications. And as I said, how do you hold this job? Say, just to give you some example, say this is what the image is, a image of spin coating machine, spin coating machine. Why we are getting this color? Actually, it is kept in a yellow room because we are doing some operations of the electronic things. This gray color, dark gray color things, what you see, it is a, what is this? Can anybody tell? This is a silicon wafer. Okay. This silicon wafer will be held on this disc through a vacuum gripping system. There is no mechanical clamp there. Okay, and this bottom portion of the disc connected to this, so they would rotate, this base would rotate around 5000 rpm. Okay, now what will happen? We in the center we give a drop of photoresist, and you know the photoresist is having high viscosity, so it will not spread of its own unless somebody pushes its radially outward. It is getting a push somewhere. So that is exactly what will happen when this disc starts rotating. Slowly the photoresist droplet will get flattened out, and it will be tried to get spread all over the etching surface. And more the RPM, the thinner of the thin will be the film, and eventually it will leave a very thin film of photoresist on the silicon wafer. Okay, and we keep spins up until, and what will happen if excess amount of resist is there? Okay, with time the excess amount of resist will fly off all around, and only a very thin 2 to 3 micron thickness photoresist will be remaining onto the substrate. Okay, and the thickness of the film will depend on the, as I said, it will be viscosity of the photoresist. So the viscosity, sometimes we are making the photoresist, and also we sometimes use some diluent. So together they would dictate the thing. Okay. So you understand, eventually from the photo spin coater, what we get? We have given a droplet on the spin coater of photoresist, and from there eventually we are having the silicon wafer or whatever job surface covered with a extremely thin coating of liquid photoresist coating. Okay, now this has to be now exposed with some kind of a what you call photographic projection similar to the earlier method, so that the any image, positive image, can be transferred, and with the UV light projection systems the mask can be created by the chemical conversion of the photoresist at select locations. Okay. So I'll come to this later when I talk about the photochemical machining techniques, more details. Now, what will be the selection criteria of the mask from your what you call common sense? See, one thing is very sure, the chemical resistance of the mask is a primary issue, because the mask should be chemically inert to the etchant. If the mask also reacts, probably that will not serve any purpose. So deeper etching will possible will be a thicker mask. Okay, then part configurations, because you see when you talk of a spin coating thing, spin coating will be probably only for a flat job. But suppose we have some kind of a seesaw job, or some undulations are there, or some curved surfaces, there probably we cannot use a photoresist coating. Then in how many numbers you want to produce the parts? So masking, because if you have to make many large numbers, mask making process also correspondingly has to be done at a much faster rate. Okay, this is one thing. Then cost should be affordable. Then after your chemical machining is done, mask is still there, but the portions covered with mask has not reacted. But now your job machine portion has been done. You have to remove the mask. So there should be some standard protocols, standard chemicals, or standard way of removing the mask. It should be done easily. Otherwise, they cannot take place. And lastly, the required resolution. Okay, because the thicker the mask, from the opening down to the bottom up to certain depth, the resolution will be lost. But whenever the mask is very thin, like the photoresist mask, okay, you can have very fine features, very closely faced features, because resolution of the features you can maintain it very high, and you only going for a typically very surface level thing. Okay. So application wise, as I said, cut and peel type will be big structural parts, like milling of aircraft components, milling of blind machining of missiles, space components, like that. Okay. What about screen print? Screen print will be for mass production. Okay. Because cut and peel type is the low volume productions. Okay. Because it will require many a times not so automated way. Maybe you can use a CNC. If you have a CAD design, the moment you apply a mask, if you can have a CAD design, you can incorporate a CNC machines with a cutter. They can cut the path of the masking portions, and then manually you can peel them off. This is one way, but that too itself is a time consuming process. Whereas skin printing is much faster. Okay, but it is less accurate as compared to the photoresist technique. So what about photoresist techniques? It will be used for the small components, thin components, but it will never be used for big components. Like printed circuit boards, we can use it. Watch components like small, not digital watch, analog watch, where inside you find lot of gears, micro gears are there. Small spiral rings are there. How they are manufactured? This can be manufactured by the photochemical machining using photoresist. Then flat sheet metal components, that also can be used using photoresist components, typically all for small jobs. Now coming to the concept of undercut and edge factor. Now when you achieve a certain depth, say this red color, this is my depth of machining, and I want to machine up to certain depth. So this is what is the depth of cut. Okay, but you see, because of the side machining, as you penetrate with time on the sides, particularly on the there will be some amount of machining, and on the top portions there will be more machining, and down to the bottom the machining will be less, side machining will be less, because that is bottom portion is exposed for less amount of time to the chemical. Okay, so we get a tapered surface. So what you can, this is known as undercut, these portions. So mask is up to this, but actual side machining on the top is up to this. Okay, so this is what is called undercut. Okay, and the edge factor. is the ratio of the undercut divided by the depth of cut. Okay. So for different agents, their characteristics are different. Like we can have a whole lot of agents starting from ferric chloride, chromic acid, ferric nitrate, hydrofluoric acid, nitric acid, and so on, under different. Sometimes we use also a mixed acids, HCl and HNO3 together. Okay, it all depends where is your applications, which metal are you doing it. Say for example, metal could be aluminium. For aluminium we use ferric chloride. Okay, for copper we are using ferric chloride. Nickel alloys again ferric chloride. Phosphor bronze chromic acid. Silver ferric nitrate. Okay, then titanium will only react with hydrofluoric acid. It is so inert to the acid. Okay, tool steel nitric acids. So correspondingly you see the H factor is different. Like some cases it is 1.5:1. That means if you want to achieve a depth of machining of 1 millimeter, you will have from the mask tip you will have 1.5 millimeter side machining. So some cases it is as high as 2.7 millimeter, 2.7:1. So depending upon the H factor, and if you know the depth of etching, probably knowing the dimensions, and this extra dimensions is coming into a final machining, this you can restrict by restricting the mass opening. Suppose this is intended is 10 millimeter, so you don't make 10 millimeter already. Okay, or you make it this opening slightly less, because you know some additional dimension we can going to achieve through the side machining process. So this will be a burden, otherwise we will lose our desired dimensions. So this undercut has to be taken care of during the mask actual opening process, so that the moment we achieve the dash, the undercut also will be known, and corresponding opening of the mask together, this dimension can be told. Okay. So HN selections will depend upon the surface finish, removal rate, material type, your edge depth, type of resist, cost, and so many other things. Okay. Now here what I am telling, because of the undercut, we have seen if we try to attack the job from one side, what will happen? There will be undercut, there will be side machining, and we are going to get a tapered surface like this. Okay, but here we are going to get a tapered surface like this. But in order to avoid that things, we can take opt for double-sided etching. Okay, and that this requires little prior knowledge how what is the H factor, how the HNT is going to react, how much will be the slope of this, and so on. But whatever may be the case, for sidewise straightness or zero taper can be achieved in this eventually. If you sequentially go like this, you see how it is achieved. Say initially we have started like this. Now we have a double-sided mask on the top, mask on the bottom. Both are submerged or exposed under the chemical. So reaction is happening at the same rate at both the surfaces. So we are getting, and how this is showing how initially it is vertically down and gradually it is attacking from the side. Okay, so here it is more and more it is attacking from the side. Now after some times, when you achieve the complete depth at the half of the depth, each half from both one side each, so both half together, it's a complete blanking process. But we do not stop there. After blanking, we wait for some times. Now there, from this point to us, it was mostly side machining, and component will be there, and the sharpest corner, the machining rate will be higher, more side machining. So what will happen? Eventually, if we wait for some more time inside the chemical, allow it to remain in these things, gradually this tapered or sharp portions will be going to get machined out, and this will be evened out like this. Okay, so this time can be calculated out accordingly. This machine, suppose if this be your final dimensions, knowing the undercut, okay, and depth, probably you will be able to see how much opening of the mask you need to allow, okay, into the design, so that this can be made. Okay. The process sequence is step etching. In the process sequence in the step etching, what we can do here, we can make a stepped surface as well. How can we do that things? For which we do not cover the entire portions of equal length at a time. Okay, say initially, okay, if we cover, see, we are going to generate these steps are there. Okay, so initially what we do it, we cover the entire portions. Okay, so we only achieve this much depth. Okay, later on we cover this plus these portions. Okay, only these portions we cover, and as well as these portions and these portions we cover. Initially all these three things together up to this, so this gets machined. Second times we take these things out of the zone. Okay, so this is no longer covering these portions, so only these portions and these portions are covered, so this as well as this will be machined. In the third step, both this and this will be removed, only this will be covered. So this will also start machining, but by the time others will also further get machined. So if we wait, if you know the time of attaining depth per unit time, knowing the depth we want to achieve for each steps, the time I can give for removing some portions of the mask. And this is how we can create a step surface as well in the chemical machining process. Okay, but issues of undercut and other things are there as usual, so that you have to take in consideration when you design for the mask. Or say for example, I out of this cylindrical shaft, this is a cylindrical shaft, I want to create a target to create a tapered surface. Okay, so this can be easily accomplished if suppose from here initially we have some withdrawal mechanism, so that we at a very slow rate withdrawn, and the moment a portion is that portions will not be machined any further. Okay, and if you know this slope, okay, and if you know the rate of the side machining, rate means how much depth is achieved per unit minute, knowing from the slope, you can calculate out the vertical withdrawal rate. Just very simple arithmetic, you can do it and apply it, so that the rate at will be withdrawal, you can decide, and eventually you can get this taper. But this process is a very slow process. Entire job creating such taper going up to so much depth up to bottom may take several hours. It all depends upon the reactivity of the agent, but it is possible. Okay. So main advantages of the chemical machining is going to be no conventional tools and dies. Okay. See, if you compare with a normal stamping process, okay, or blanking process, there is specific dies are required, specific tools are there. Okay, so it is basically a contactless process. Second thing, we are capable of maintaining the dimensional repeatability, knowing the H factor, knowing the depth of card, knowing the machining rate. Okay, so this is possible. Repetitive jobs are possible, and the design flexibility. From prototype to mass production, it is possible. We can have only 1, 2 in numbers, or we can have thousands of such components in per hour. Both are possible to the chemical board. Low cost, very simple technology. Metal prototype can remain unchanged. Bar-free, crack-free, stress-free parts. This is sometimes required particularly for the aerospace industries. And this is well suited for to thin part, to complex part, to small parts, everything. Okay, you see some of the small parts, what you see is really suited for this kind of techniques. So this class I will conclude with some applications. We have 1 or 2 minutes left. Okay, before we conclude, what we do here, suppose this is a kind of a dog bone or dumbbell kind of shape. Here I have to get this inner dark continuous line. Okay, dark black line, that shape has to be done. Okay, so the heavier ends can be formed. Okay, this can be done by the forging process. But problem is there, when you attempt to obtain such dimensions, thickness in the forging, thin portions cannot survive. There may be crack, it may fail like that. So best is to you restrict much higher dimension up to forging, up to this dotted line. Okay, central portions and all along, and remaining portions, once it is done, those you remove by the chemical route. Or say for example, this is an example of a forming. When you forming by a process, maybe through extrusion or some other process, these are the some of the critical areas, okay, where you can have those what you call wrinkles may come, this may fail even. So how to avoid this thing? The thinner it becomes, becomes more critical. So in order to do these things again, this forming we cannot go up to full thickness, such a small thickness. We restricting it to up to stopping at 2.2 millimeter roughly. But my final dimensions will be achieved through chemical machining, and this 2 millimeter will be brought down to 0.76 millimeter, almost 1.5 millimeter material, 1.25 millimeter, that is roughly around 0.6 millimeter will be machined on both sides, and we get these dimensions. And third one is a kind of a what you call wave structure. You see, this is one. Okay, this is one. This kind of wave structure, this is dimension is thinner. Okay, now these thin portions, it will be fast machine oversize. We leave the oversize and to provide the vertical waves. Okay, but from the dotted line, if we try to machine further by machining, what may happen? Because of the your thinness, the moment you apply force during machining, this may deform. And this deform may be either temporarily, or it could be there could be a plastic deformations, means completely out of shape. So we do not take the risk. We machine up to this dotted line, leave it like this. Remaining portions, we take the help of chemical machining and do it. This is a standard practice through which we'll do it over there. Okay. So let us stop it here. There we are giving you some areas where chemical machining can be used very conveniently. It's a very cheap, very simple process. Only for some of the environmental strictures, you just cannot throw away your chemical when they are exhausted. Okay, so through that route, that may add up some of the cost. Otherwise, there are certain specific applications where this will be really, really useful. Okay. Whole purpose of chemical machining was started when it's long back, historically century old. They have lot of chemically decorated metal, say armors or something like that. Those they used to surface machining, they used to do it by chemical machining. I'll show you the picture next day, so you'll understand. Let us stop here today. Okay. Any questions you may ask? And those who have joined late, please note down, this Saturday, we have a quiz on the portions that we have covered in the pre-mid-sem, that is introduction, electric discharge machining and electrochemical machining. We'll have a quiz of half an hour duration, and it may happen on Saturday, maybe around how much? What time will be convenient? 8 o'clock?
No, sir, earlier.
When? 6 o'clock? So let us have is 6:30 or 6 o'clock.
6:30 would be fine.
Huh? 6:30.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sir,
So
can we
Saturday,
shift it to weekday?
when it will be held? This will be
In
held all
any-
Your voice is coming interrupted way. Okay. Please repeat your question. Who is telling? Who is that?
Sir, can we shift it in any of the evening of weekday, like apart from weekend?
Leaving Friday, because some of you said you have comprehensive Viva, na? So up to 12, some people may have some comprehensive Viva. Is it not? So I want to do it, finish it. That's why we are doing on Saturday, just a half an hour matter. Okay. See, such a big class, everybody cannot be satisfied. Someone has to compromise or the other. So let us have it on Saturday. Okay.
So just one question. Is it possible to have it next Monday?
No, is there any issue on Saturday?
So weekday is better, and I have a lot of tests this week, so I'm just asking if it's possible for Monday.
See, if
it will
you
be more
keep
convenient
pending,
if it's
more
during
problems
class.
will come.
for all of us.
Lot of tests, more number of tests will come. So don't think. Let us have it on Saturday and finish it. Okay, Devika.
Yes, sir. Okay.
Let us do it on Saturday. Okay. So I will write on this thing, so mail it to thing. Okay, it is clear. So we're not going to take attendance today because I'll check from the this thing teams whosoever is present. Okay, they will be marked present. Okay.
Sir, I have a few questions in the slides. Can you go to the rotary encoder where you show the rotary encoder in the slide?
Encoder product. Yes, on the second of that slide.
We had like normally like when I had seen
This is
some.
where the slide is visible.
Yes, it's visible. When we
Yes.
like when I've seen some motor and the encoders were attached, they usually have a plastic or a polycarbonate like film, and their black color lines or the strips are printed instead of machining on copper. So, what would be the application where plastics or like these were like? Why would
See,
someone
it is
want
also
to
the
have?
moment you have, see, industrial cases when you want to have a much rugged things. Okay, in some of the motors they used to have this kind of things. Okay, earlier thing. Okay, such kind of encoders they used to have it. But now a lot of hard polymers like polycarbonate films and other composites are also available. They are doing with that also,
Okay, sir.
which are
And
not.
yeah. Also, in the screen printing example, you mentioned that you will explain with the diagram. But then we saw that the next example was of photoresist itself. Is photoresist or screen printing? Because the title says screen printing, but the first word itself is photoresist.
See, screen printing is first techniques I have shown you over here. Okay, screen is making the screen first ready. Okay, then repeatedly you can use the same screen. Okay, for screen printing, you are not applying any mask on the target. Okay, whereas for cut and peel or photoresist, you are printing the mask on the job. Okay, here what you will do it, first you are generating the screen using the photoresist and light projection techniques, which is a photochemical conversion process of the photoresist. So your screen is ready. Now through this rubber emulsion, you can use it on any number of jobs and to cover up the things. Okay, this you can do and print the mask.
Like my question example was there are three types, right? There is the cut and peel, the screen print, and photoresist. Which of
Yes.
the three, which of the main confusion is in the bottom two. Which of the bottom two is this method? Is it screen print or is it photoresist? Because in screen print
This is
it
a
is
screen
mentioned.
print. This is for much bigger size job. Okay, and photoresist is also using a photoresist material, but it is for a smaller type of job, very finer, closely spaced features. Okay, and when you talk about the actual photochemical machining, you see through a demagnifying projection systems, a large features can be condensed to a very small features, closely spaced features, and those can be printed on the photoresist, and thus closely spaced mask can be generated. That I will come in the photochemical in the next class. I will tell you, things will be
Okay.
clearer there.
Okay, and also in the there.
Very good observation. Okay. Okay. Please
This
share.
example.
Your again voice got interrupted. Could you please repeat again? Your voice is getting interrupted. Could you please repeat again? You are muted probably.
Sir, I think someone removed him from the meeting.
Yeah, sir, I rejoined now. Someone is removing me from the meeting. But I wanted to ask, there is a mention of silk or stainless steel mesh. So this example uses a silk mesh, but we can have stainless steel mesh also.
Can you
Right?
see the screen?
Yeah, sir, I can see the screen.
So on the right hand side of this pink color thing, this is of course a very synthetic fiber mesh. And on the mesh, you see some portions are covered with this photoresist coating, which has been converted.
Yeah.
And after developing, some portions of the mesh is as original because applied photoresist has not received light there. Okay, so it has remained live during developing, they have been removed. Now using this, if you use it, put this mesh onto this frame, what will happen? Through this net these portions, liquid emulsion can percolate down onto the target. But on the right, this portions is completely opaque, okay, solid. So no liquid can percolate down onto the things. So when you press to the squeegee, okay, this ink or whatever that can be passed onto the print, and this process is with this frame is known as the screen printing process. Okay, so in screen printing, first step is to generate this mesh, get your required image there, and then using this mesh onto this frame, you transfer the image, okay, onto your target.
Okay, sir. And like the silicon chips or the transistor manufacturing processes that are very prominent right now use this chemical machining process of photoresist, right?
See, this is just to tell you some of the things. Actual chip manufacturing process is much more complex. A silicon chip manufacturing process, the features are even much more finer. There you are using different types of optical lithographic techniques, and some of them will be using a laser lithographic techniques, then X-ray lithographic techniques. Because if you think of your your current day processor, computer processor, you know what is the feature size between two circuits? Maybe around 20 nanometers. Okay.
Yeah, right now the transistors are around at 7 nanometers, I think. In
7
AMD.
nanometers, much smaller. So how to prepare? So there are different techniques. These techniques will not do it. Different projects. Then there could be a multiple layer things. Okay.
Yeah,
There are different. The same thing will go on different process chambers. Sometimes it is baking. Sometimes it is diffusion. Sometimes it is depositions through the chemical vapor deposition techniques, multi-process techniques. It's a very complex process. One single chip manufacturing facility will draw investment or Indian rupee minimum around 5 to 10,000 crores. Okay.
So like essentially it will use some of these methods, but it will also incorporate multi-interpreted.
It is only, I can say it is only the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Okay. So just to give you, because all details, that is itself is a separate subject.
Yeah.
Huh?
Thank you. And also a few limitations. You didn't mention any limitations on the slides, I think. advantages were mentioned.
Limitations you can, from your common sense, you understand main is the chemical. Okay. After you machine it, you have to remove the mask, use of mask, you have to thoroughly rinse it, otherwise chemical will continue to be there. Okay, that the process is there. Then repeated use of the chemical, slowly it will lose its strength, you have to recharge it, and there is a certain limitations. So you cannot use the chemical further, you have to dispose it somewhere. And because of the environmental stricture, you cannot dispose it anywhere. Okay, so those will be slightly you have to company has to abide by all these strictures, and that will add up to the cost. Okay. Okay then, thank you, and be prepared for the Saturday quiz. Okay, we'll have it there. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir.
Excuse me, sir.
Yes, please.
Excuse me, sir. So could you provide us with a mail with timing and all such details?
It will be given on the before the exam, before